Hey beautiful human, it's RidersDX and welcome to another rendition of TMZ. Today we've got some juicy gossip on one of the cleanest stars to have ever graced the planet. That's right, the world famous plumber has a zit. Okay, I know how real this looks and how scandalous this may be, but that's not all. As much of a critical darling that Mario has been, he has had some duds reach the public space. But what exactly are his most critically despised games of all time? Well, I've compiled and played through those 10 games, so let's just see how squeaky clean Mr. Mario really is. I got my eye on you. What I did was go onto Metacritic and compiled the 10 lowest rated Mario games and crafted this top 10 list from highest to lowest score. If there were any ties, they were broken based on how many reviews they had, with the higher number taking the higher spot. But without further ado, let's see what the most hated Mario games are. Mario Sports Mix comes in at number 10 with an average score of 64 based on 54 reviews. Sports Mix is a collection of 4 games: basketball, volleyball, soccer, and dodgeball. You would think with just 4 games they would be a little more complex, but much of the criticism for this game is attributed to the simplicity of them. It's a fax machine quality retread of such startling inanity that at a point you might actually find your fond memories of Mario sports games passed overridden by this blur of dispassionate mediocrity. Giant bomb, 40 out of 100. The glory days of Mario Golf and tennis seem very far away in this lazy and patronizingly simplistic sports compendium. Metro Game Central, 45 out of 100. Square Enix succeeded in creating another Mario sports title. They just forgot to make it fun. Video Game Talk, 40 out of 100. The good news is the games are pretty easy to get into as a result, so it serves its function well as a party title to play with friends. While Mario Sports Mix may lack the depth of Mario Tennis and Golf, it's a great example of a more casual Mario title that multiple players can enjoy. Nintendo Life, 80. It's easy to get sucked into a quick game or two and wind up blowing through hours of matches. Games Radar Plus, 80. Mario Sports Mix is nothing revolutionary, but in keeping with a franchise veteran, it does provide ample multiplayer entertainment should you happen to have a couple of friends willing to participate. Digital Chumps, 76. With this game, I'm just sort of confused as to why it exists. I know that sounds like bullying, but Mario has a ton of sports games on the Wii like tennis, Striker's Charge, baseball, and even multiple sports collections with Olympic titles. So why in the world did Nintendo think Mario needed another sports collection? They even got Square Enix to make the game. I mean, did y'all really not think of another title they could have worked on? It apparently sold 1.54 million copies, so I guess it was worth it in the end. It's a fine enough game for what it is, but with so many choices on the system, it's hard to make a case for this one over the many other ones available. I gotta say though, I love playing volleyball in Luigi's Mansion. The game could have used more crazy courses like that. After all, I am obsessed with the supernatural. Mario Pinball Land blasts onto the list at number 9 with a Metacritic score of 62 based on 35 reviews. As the name suggests, Mario Pinball Land is a pinball video game developed by Fuse where you control Mario as a pinball, navigating through various courses to collect stars and eventually face Bowser to rescue Princess Peach. Much of the game's criticism lies on the game's pinball mechanics, making the experience more frustrating than fun when trying to progress. A maddening, misguided mongrel of a game, luck plays a huge part in simply navigating the world can be exactly as hard as the hardest challenge, a random and raging minutes-long bore, especially when moving enemies straying across your line. Edge Magazine, 40. This game may have more pinball challenges than Pokémon Pinball, but when players have to struggle through some of the frustratingly bad design implementations, it's almost not worth the playtime. IGN, 50. It almost seems like a kid's game, until you encounter bosses and trick shots that push your temper to full tilt. And speaking of tilt, where is it? Electronic Gaming Monthly, 40. To make matters worse, if the ball falls down between the flippers, players are often forced to start from scratch and many times replay the stage that they previously completed to get back to where they just were. Wash, rinse, repeat. Gaming Edge 33. Despite this, some critics found the game to be fun enough, especially with unique ideas it brings to the table with the Mario franchise. By delightfully melding combat and puzzle solving with solid pinball mechanics, Mario Pinball is not only the first pinball action adventure game, but it's also a damn good one at that. GamePro, 90. It combines the general concept behind tabletop pinball of the characters and worlds from the Mario franchise to create a strange sort of adventure game that's fairly fun but a little on the short side. GameSpot, 75. Mario Pinball Land is a fun pinball game with enough new twists and turns to keep any flipper fanatic happy. GameCube Advanced, 79. I had my expectations pretty realistic going into this simply because I'm not one to be huge on pinball games. They're just a fun way to waste a few minutes from me at an arcade and nothing more, let alone full-on video games dedicated to them. But for a measly pinball game, Mario Pinball Land does a lot to make the experience more engaging. You have a little hub world that's essentially a pinball table itself,
Once you figure out that's what it is, you can use it properly to travel to other tables which have compartments you can get into depending on how many stars you accumulated, which you typically get by bumping into the enemies on a table. It's a pretty innovative way to incorporate the Mario franchise into the pinball genre, and I gotta give the developers credit for that. At the end of the day, it's still a pinball game, but it's about as Mario of a pinball game as you can get in my eyes, so it's worth your time. Just so you know, I feel a very tight and painful sensation in my heart as I reveal what game is at the spot, but we'll get into that. Mario Party 8 is here at number 8 with a Metacritic score of 62 based on 41 reviews. Mario Party 8 is a 2007 party video game developed by Hudson Soft. The game is the first one in the series released for the Wii and actually ranks as one of the best-selling Wii games of all time with over 7 million copies sold. Unfortunately, Mario Party 8 clearly didn't fare as well to critics, with much of the criticism being directed towards how stale the formula had gotten up to that point. The core gameplay being dull, the mini-games uninspired, and the presentation severely lacking, this is a game that only the most die-hard Nintendo fans will find any worth in. Video Gamer 40. Mario Party 8 is a would-have, should-have, could-have kind of game, with such a depressingly long list of wasted opportunities and so many other minigame collections available for Nintendo Wii, the excellent Raving Rabbids for one. It would be wrong of me to say you should pick this up. Eurogamer 40. All of our complaints about previous games, the slow pace, the lackluster single-player affair, the loose attention to detail, all remaining with Mario Party 8, we can add another criticism: ignorance of the Wii Remote. IGN 52. Some critics still found the Mario Party formula quite fun, however, and praised the game. Played alone against a computer, the game is barely worth popping out of its case, but having even one other human opponent ups the fun exponentially. You just can't get the same satisfaction out trash talking against a faceless computerized enemy. GamePro 90. The level of customization and personalization available in Mario Party 8 and intuitive fun of the Wii Remote makes it a quintessential party accessory of 2007. What few control weaknesses are present are overshadowed by the inane fun and competition, a host of unlockables, and addictive minigames. Game Trailers 83. Bottom line is that if you love Mario Party, you'll still love Mario Party 8. If you don't love the Mario Party games, this one isn't going to do anything that will change your mind, even with the Wii controls. Console Game World 79. I think that last review perfectly encompasses why some people despise Mario Party 8 while others have a good time with it. Mario Party 8 came out after 7 had come before it, all using the same formula that was unfortunately becoming stale leading up to it. And that doesn't include the handheld titles. As a result, a lot of people that were getting tired from Mario Party were just fed up with the franchise at this point, especially given the fact that the Wii had a wide variety of party games to offer. It doesn't change a lot from the previous games. In fact, I would not be surprised if this game started development on the GameCube given its presentation. However, for me, I have a lot of nostalgia when it comes to Mario Party 8, so I feel slightly gutted to see it on this list. It was my first exposure to the Mario Party series, and I invested a ton of hours into this game as a kid as I discovered the casual fun of the Mario Party series. Playing it again after all these years, I honestly had a blast. The boards here may not be as great as some of the previous entries, but there's still plenty of fun to be had. The minigames are a mixed bag, but it's a nice collection of both button-controlled and motion-controlled minigames. None of these games really help the Wii Remote reach its full potential, but I appreciate the simplicity when it comes to party games. I know it's not perfect that there's tons of games in the series, but I love it anyway. If you like Mario Party, you'll like this. Coming in at number 7 is Mario Sports Superstars on a 3DS with a Metacritic score of 62 out of 100 based on 44 reviews. It's very much within the same line as Sports Mix, except it offers a different set of games such as soccer and tennis. As if Nintendo just watched, rinsed, and repeated what they did with that game, the critics were just as critical about the lack of depth of any of the minigames. By offering 5 games in one, it fails to offer a definitive version of anything, and even a pretty decent take on horse racing isn't worth the price of admission unless you're planning on really diving into the other sports as well. As a multiplayer title, it could be fun to climb the ranks online, but as a single player experience, it's totally functional yet painfully lifeless. It's laid out the groundwork, but Sports Superstars just needs to take a few more risks. Nintendo Life 5 out of 10. Only one game in 5 is any good in this 5 games in one compilation, whose brazen recycling of old content is equal parts embarrassing and cynical. Metro Game Central 5 out of 10. Mario Sports Superstars does nothing to help the series make its case. In fact, it's quite possibly the most aggressively simplistic game I've ever played from Nintendo. Digitally downloaded 2.5 out of 5. Some critics were able to find a lot of casual fun in the game despite its alleged simplicity. For a seemingly simple game, there's a lot to discover in Mario Sports Superstars. Everyone can instantly play this game, but there is enough content to keep coming back to it. Horse racing is also a fun new addition to the Mario Sports series. XGN 8.5 out of 10. Mario Sports Superstars means fun. With 5 different sports in one game, Nintendo and Camelot bring you the possibility to see Peach, Yoshi, Wario, and almost every Mario character that you love in sports like baseball, soccer, tennis, golf, and horse racing. On the other hand, tennis and golf seems to be very similar to the actual 3DS versions. Hobby consoles, 80 out of 100. Mario Sports Superstars won't wow any 3DS fan, since a lot of the content is recycled from other franchises and other 3DS games, such as Mario Golf World Tour and Mario Tennis Open, but take it for what it is, a nice collection of very good sport-inspired minigames can grant several hours of fun to both veterans and newcomers. Spazio games, 75 out of 100. To be completely honest here, I was dreading jumping into this one from the start. It could have very well been one of the best sports game collections ever created, but it's on a console where it isn't the most convenient thing to play with other people on. I really do feel these types of games feel the best on home consoles since it's so much easier to just pick up and play them with your friends. But most handhelds require you all to have a console, connect to the internet, and all that jazz my lazy ass couldn't be arsed to invest in. As for the game itself, it's perfectly fine. It just doesn't help that most of these minigames have their own separate console iterations where they're much more fleshed out and innovative. It almost makes this collection feel a little pointless in all honesty. Horse racing is pretty fun though. I wouldn't mind seeing a spin-off of that in the future. Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games for 3DS comes in at number 6 with a score of 60 out of 100 based on dirty reviews. It's the 4th installment in the Mario and Sonic series, and totally what fans continue to clamor for in terms of a crossover. Likewise, these games don't typically get the highest scores, but I was surprised to see a random 3DS installment up here, so I was pretty curious to see what critics said. Overall, Mario and Sonic 2016 Olympic Games feels like many of the event-based games that came before it, full of events but shallow in substance. The lack of an online multiplayer mode and the inability to play as any Mario or Sonic character in any event makes this entry into Mario and Sonic games a bore. Digital chumps, 46 out of 100. Nothing about the game is really satisfying, nothing about the game stands out, and poor and lazy design choices make it feel much more like a cash grab than a full-fledged experience. Nintendo enthusiast, 50 out of 100. Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games on the 3DS is a disappointing collection of hastily cobbled together minigames. There's some fleeting fun to be had, but most of its sporting disciplines are an exercise in repetitive drudgery. 40 out of 100, critical hit. Some critics did recognize the simplicity of the game, but still acknowledge it could be a fun time. Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games might not be the best sports game in Nintendo 3DS, but it's filled with content and has some interesting ideas. Hobby consoles, 70 out of 100. There are some cool new features in Rio 2016, for example the costumes in the story mode. The possibilities of 3DS are used as much as possible, which is very fun, especially as the variety of minigames is good. Is it exciting though? Unfortunately not, and there are no online ways of playing, which feels a bit old-fashioned. Insider Gamer, 70 out of 100. This 5th installment of the Mario and Sonic series is a nice multi-event sports title, although a little too easy for an experienced gamer. It's pretty clear that the targeted audience is younger gamers, and they'll have a lot of fun thanks to the eye-candy graphics, the local multiplayer, not online though, and a roster of well-known and loved characters. The Gamer's Machine, 65 out of 100. During my short time in this game, I honestly had a good time going through the events. It's a simple minigame collection starring your favorite Mario and Sonic characters. Nothing more, nothing less. I hadn't played one of these games in forever, so maybe that's why it felt alright to me. I can imagine the 4th game the same decade the concept had very much outstayed its welcome. I do think it's pretty insulting that each event can only be played by a certain set of characters. You may be able to play as many characters in the game, but only 6 of them are playable in each event, and with Mario and Sonic being a choice in each event, there is not a lot of variety. The game does have a story mode though, where you get to play as a Mii that's earning medals for either Team Sonic or Team Mario, which I thought is always a good idea to implement for handhelds at least, where multiplayer is not as accessible. I think if you go into this title with the right expectations, it's a decent time, but nothing out of this world, unless you're a sports fanatic. We've got the first ever Mario Party compilation, the top 100 at number 5 with a score of 59 out of 100 based on 40 reviews. Much of the criticism for this game just came from the sheer lack of content beyond the minigames. For a full price game, the top 100 feels rather shallow of its content. I was able to finish the entire game, playing every single minigame, finishing single player mode, and checking out the other modes in around 3 hours. And while the joy of Mario Party is typically in playing the boards and games over and over, there's really no incentive to do that here since the only available board is pathetically underwhelming, and playing the games in rapid succession is tiresome. The top 100 isn't a terrible game, but it's an experience that rings hollow when it could have been so much more. Nintendo Rogueport, 4.5 out of 10. The top 100 does a good job collecting and remastering a large number of minigames from across the entire series, but neglects to tie them together in any meaningful way. By focusing almost wholly on the minigames, the game tends to become a relentless slog of loading in and out of overly simplistic challenges over and over again. The Sydney Morning Herald, 45 out of 100. Unfortunately, I just don't see how Mario Party is supposed to be enjoyable playing solo on a handheld when there isn't even a fully fleshed out board game to play on. It's just a series of 1-minute minigames that award you 1 to 3 stars, feeling very much like this should have been a mobile game. The minigames are fun, but the model in which they're presented to players feels very out of place on a 3DS. This might be a good pickup for families with a few kids at home, but I can't recommend it to fans of the series or an older audience that have so much better titles to choose from on this platform. Nintendo Enthusiast, 50 out of 100. Despite that, some reviewers still found the base game experience to be fun enough on its own. We finally received a compilation of the best minigames in Mario Party history. While the game itself suffers a lack of other content, each minigame is as great as you remember, and the download play function makes it a great option for multiplayer experiences. Atomic, 78 out of 100. Although Mario Party the Top 100 contains an impressive amount of minigames that are still super fun to play, the modes to enjoy the minigames within are unfortunately lacking. That being said, if you're looking for a comprehensive Mario Party experience that you can enjoy with a few friends on the go, then this is one collection that you should definitely not overlook. Video Chum, 7.3 out of 10. Mario Party the Top 100 is a pretty nice compilation of minigames, but those are not enough to keep players entertained for a long time. Unfortunately, the lack of multiplayer online modes trash away all the good things. No friends, no party. Multiplayer.it, 6.5 out of 10. I mean, there's really not all that much to say about this game. It's really just a bare bones collection of classic minigames from Mario Party's extremely extended history. As someone who's not a huge Mario Party enthusiast, this was a satisfying enough collection to me. I don't think I recognized any of the minigames, but the small selection I played through were pretty fun times. I just really wish there were more options beyond the games. Like, I wish they still tried to make this a traditional Mario Party with board selections and all. There is one board you can play on this, but it's one of the most underwhelming boards I've ever played in a Mario Party. The board is about a quarter the size of a typical Mario Party board, and it just goes by extremely fast. It really isn't worth mentioning. I guess I could imagine fans being disappointed in the minigame collection, but I honestly think the game's biggest issue is just a lack of content beyond the minigames. I mean, 100 is a big number, but the experience is just so much more dry when you don't have the options a Mario Party game typically offers you. But as fun as these games are, the nature of Mario Party minigames leave them with very little substance, and I think this game just reveals how boring they can be on their own. The board experience is really the main attraction for Mario Party, but the minigames add so much flavor to the experience. One is not complete without the other. I think this game just exposed that to no end. But hey, I'm sure it gave a lot of Mario Party fans a fun trip down memory lane. Coming in at number 4 is Mario Tennis Ultra Smash with a score of 58 out of 100 based on 58 reviews. It was developed by Camelot Software Planning and released on the Wii U. The game got mixed to negative reviews from critics, generally due to a lack of additional modes, its presentation, its character roster, and an apparent lack of innovation. It seems someone forgot to develop a game before publishing it, because this game lacks content so desperately that it looks like a minigame from Mario Party. CD Action, 25 out of 100. Mario Tennis Ultra Smash isn't good in the slightest. While the game can be decent in passing, it's a horrible value when you stop to think about it. There is just one stadium, limited online options, and less features than the previous 2 entries. Nintendo Rogueport, 35 out of 100. The fact that it's a mechanically solid sporting experience can't save it from the mediocrity or a lack of any real reason to come back, and that's really the worst sin a sports game can commit. God is a Geek, 45 out of 100. Even the more positive reviews couldn't help but criticize the lack of single player content. Nintendo's best competitive sports title is just as thrilling as ever, but feels a little too familiar and light on content. Gaming Trend, 75 out of 100. In conclusion, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash is well presented on the Nintendo Wii U and evolves the original N64 game into a worthy next-gen version. Sure, it is lacking some replay value, but if you're looking for multiplayer and online fun, this is the perfect game for those short bursts of fun as you grand slam your rackets against your Mario opponents, especially in Mega Battle. Impulse Gamer, 72 out of 100. Despite the fantastic presentation and brilliant on-court gameplay, those looking for a solid single-player experience can confidently ignore this entertaining but criminally undercooked offering. Rash Games, 70 out of 100. I'm just gonna be straight with you all, I'm not really big on tennis games. I think it's a fun enough sport in real life, but playing it in video games has never done anything for me. It's why this is legit the first time I've ever bought and played a Mario Tennis game. I definitely was curious as to why it disappeared on the list when the list consisted of primarily party games and sports collections. The game functions perfectly fine as a tennis game. I use the gamepad, but I'm sure the motion controls would be fun to utilize as well. I really don't have any complaints of its mechanics. They're totally fine coming from someone who really doesn't care for tennis games. But there is definitely an alarming lack of content at the beginning of the game. There are only 3 court themes at the start, and for a sports game people should be able to just jump into, this is way too low of a number. And considering this is a Wii U title and many games released around this time had way more courses to choose from, including other Mario spin-offs, it's very lackluster. Not to mention the courses themselves are so dry and lack that Mario personality I would have loved to see more of here. They're just plain old tennis courts. Why not just make this Virtua Tennis or something if you're not going to use a Mario IP? They do have this mode where you can eat giant mushrooms and turn giant, but that's literally the only Mario-ish thing here. Overall, the game is fine, but yeah, it's fine. At number 3, we got Mario Party Island Tour with a score of 57 based on 47 reviews. Mario Party Island 2 was developed by NDQ for the 3DS, the third handheld game in the Mario Party series. The game features 7 boards, each with their own special features, and 81 new minigames. Despite how good that sounds, Island Tour just received a lot of criticism for not being a fun experience in comparison to its many console counterparts. Mario Party Island Tour feels like a step backwards for the series, thanks to an uninspiring minigame collection and often grafting single-player experience. Fans of the series may want to check it out, but others can easily let this tour boat pass them by. Modo Joe, 50 out of 100. The core gameplay model is so flavorless that nearly every new feature quickly becomes mixed in with the primarily luck-based advancement that's marred these titles in recent years. Slant Magazine, 50 out of 100. Ultimately, however, it feels like going on an island tour in a hot and cramped bus that's traveling at 10 miles per hour. There are things to see and fun to be had, but only if you're prepared to wait for it. Digital Spy, 40 out of 100. Some critics did find fun in the title despite its more simplistic mechanics. A fantastic addition for the 3DS. The graphics are crisp and utilize 3D well, while the music fits each game and board without becoming monotonous. Every mode and board is easy to pick up and play with anyone, anytime. Island Tour is a perfect balance of old and new that keeps the game fresh with playing styles to meet every need. Nintendo Rogueport, 85 out of 100. Simplistic and easy to pick up, the pure fun that results makes this a great game for people of all ages and gamers of all skill levels. COG Connected, 79 out of 100. The simplified objective makes for a more fun experience, and I wish they made more Mario Party games on a console in this style. That being said, it still is just Mario Party for a handheld console. Don't expect anything more than that. Critical hit, 70 out of 100. I don't really have strong opinions when it comes to Island Tour. I mean, each board takes place on an island, so that's cool and tropical-ish. It has a lot of the same things you come to expect from Mario Party, except for my brief time of the game, all the boards were kind of unnecessarily gimmicky. I only got to 4 boards while trying this game out, and none of them actually had the classic structure traveling around the boards to find a star. I'm all for trying out new ideas with the boards, as this is what, the 12th game in the franchise or something? It's good to keep things fresh, but I still feel they should have had more boards with the classic formula, just in case anyone buying a Mario Party wants to play that way, which I guarantee happened numerous times. There are some simple yet creative boards here, but a lot of them either last far too long or not nearly long enough. You fall victim to whatever the board decides to throw at you, and it's just not as fun to me if the board doesn't have a definitive end, especially if I'm not a fan of the board concept. Island Tour is not a terrible game, but it definitely falls lower on the list of Mario parties I'll grab whenever friends are over, especially since it's on a 3DS. The minigames were at least enjoyable, pretty typical Mario Party fanfare with some incorporation of 3DS specifically that's done pretty well for the most part. I appreciate the attempt at a 3DS entry, but the console iterations are still definitely the way to go. Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games comes in at number 2 with a Metacritic score of 55 out of 100 based on 39 reviews. Oh my god, I hope they had a code word for that during development. I'm not sure why I find the fact that Sega published game takes up a spot this high so hilarious, but here we are. Critics were just plain unsatisfied with this game, criticizing the use of multiple controllers and motion controls. The latest installment in the Mario and Sonic series just feels sloppy instead of the HD reboot it should have been. It's way too similar to the previous games, and they clearly haven't had a single clue how to utilize the Wii U gamepad for the events. Game reacted Sweden, 4 out of 10. The Dirt Olympic Games of Mario and Sonic is the worst one yet. It offers very few events worth playing and manages to be a party game that doesn't feel easy to pick up. On top of that, you need an entire arsenal of different controllers to even play it. Level 7.NU, 3 out of 10. The worst Mario and Sonic game yet, and not just a waste of a crossover, but a genuinely poor minigame compilation, and one that makes both the Wii U and the gamepad look bad. Metro Game Central, 3 out of 10. Some critics still found the game to be fun despite its shortcomings. Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games isn't all that bad, but it's not great either. The controls for a lot of the events are iffy at best, but there are events that are still enjoyable, especially the dream events. This is one where I check out the demo or rent it first to see if you like it before plunking down $50 for it. Gaming Nexus, 7 out of 10. Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games is exactly what it says it is, an Olympics game with Mario and Sonic. While it is fun, it doesn't necessarily do anything past entries didn't do. That's not necessarily a bad thing though, because overall it is a fun formula, despite some of its flaws. Nintendo Rogueport, 7 out of 10. Mario and Sonic 2014 2014 certainly has its issues, but it's definitely a step above previous titles in terms of event design and overall enjoyment. It's more complex and engaging than the usual minigame menagerie, and distinct franchise twists in the dream events are a welcome bit of fan service. It's not a gold medal winner just yet, but Mario & Sonic 2014 is a stronger contender than it's ever been before. Games Radar Plus 3.5 out of 5. Let me just rant like a whiny baby for a bit. Why does a game like this require Wii Motion Plus? So shocking surprise, I own a Wii U, but not a Wii Motion Plus remote. The Wii U itself came from a friend, so I didn't really buy it the traditional way. While I was annoyed I had to cough up the dough for the controller just for this game, I was also sort of confused as to why this game would require precise motions. Upon playing the game, it's a lot of typical fanfare you'd come to expect from the series, but by far the weakest part of this game are undoubtedly the controls. The game makes a really conscious effort to make use of everything the Wii U offers, the gamepad, the remotes, the nunchucks, whatever it may be. As a result though, what you have is the entry I feel like is the hardest to just jump in and play, which is a crucial aspect for any minigame collection. The controls for each game just feel unnecessarily convoluted, especially one that makes you switch between the gamepad and remotes. Like dude, there shouldn't be this much going into the simple act of skiing down a hill. I will admit the game does have its fun moments once you get used to it, but these games are just not easily accessible to real casual gamers and that essentially defeats the purpose of hopping in these games in the first place. I will say the character selection is pretty great here, and the amount of dream events this time around is definitely appreciated. The game also looks and feels so smooth. But I was just annoyed the entire time I was playing it. I totally understand how this game got up here. It's not terrible, but the fact that this is the 4th game in the series and that it tried to throw all this garbage into it just made it an undeniable stinker. The lowest rated Mario game of all time, on Metacritic at least, is none other than Mario Party Advance, with a score of 54 out of 100 based on 27 reviews. Critics were pretty harsh with the game, absolutely trashing the new approach to Mario Party. Though I'm open to new possibilities and reinterpretations of Mario Party, playing this game made me want to just jump my GameCube and play the original console versions, even if I have to play against 3 CPU players, because frankly, being the only player on a board game that's advertised as a party is just disheartening. 1 up 50 out of 100. If not for the board game pain, this would have been okay, but as it is, it's just another lifeless Mario Party to sling onto the slowly growing pile. Games Radar 40 out of 100. Possibly the worst video game Nintendo has had the misfortune to publish. Avoid at all costs. This is disgracefully bad. Eurogamer 10 out of 100. Whew. Some critics were less harsh to the title, but couldn't help but admit the console experience was just a better fit for Mario Party. Taking Mario Party on the go is a great idea, it just wasn't implemented in the best fashion possible this time around. GameCube Advance 70 out of 100. The GBA game's multiplayer features are fairly limited and poorly organized. Its single player component, on the other hand, is very nicely organized and offers a great deal of variety. GameSpot 65 out of 100. Having the board game only available as a single player option is kind of disheartening and takes away from the charm of the game. Add to this a lack of exciting graphics and sound and somewhat negative feelings for some of the multiplayer games, and it starts to look bad. The Game Boy 60 out of 100. For me, Mario Party and GBA was always a concept I had a hard time picturing. Unlike the DS and 3DS, multiplayer with the GBA can be a little complicated and may not be worthwhile for a title like Mario Party when you had 4 different games on the GameCube instead. So in turn, Mario Party Advance is actually a solo adventure as you move through a giant board completing challenges and mini games to get to the end of the game. Just to set the record straight, this is not a Mario Party game in my eyes. It's more like an action adventure game heavily influenced by Mario Party. I mean, I do have to commend the team for trying to make this work, but I just think the concept itself was doomed from the start. As hard as they tried to make a single player Mario Party game fun, this just wasn't anything special to me. It's essentially a very simplistic open world game where movement is limited to rolling dice in a party board, but you're otherwise still talking to people, completing simplistic missions with some mini games thrown in there. It's just a forgettable experience, and I honestly have more fun playing a normal party game by myself. Like I said, it's very commendable they try to make it work, but I think Mario Party was just always meant to be a multiplayer experience, which is completely okay. I don't think it necessarily deserves the title of the lowest rated Mario game, but I also just don't think it's a game that conceptually works. So if there's one thing I'll take away from this list, it's a very boring list. Don't get me wrong, these games aren't great, but they're not laughably terrible either. They all have some redeeming quality and aren't broken beyond belief. It's a drastic difference between this list and lists of the past in that these games just aren't talked about all that much. They aren't terrible, they're just underwhelming. And quite honestly, that's just not very entertaining. But that just shows that Mario, even at his worst, is able to save himself from embarrassment. He's never had to endure a game that completely ruined his reputation, which is so impressive in and of itself.
So here's to many more years of controversy-free Mario content.
It's a me, a Mario.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Special shout out to my patrons, New Gamer Hub, Team Rattle Sign Gamer, Johnny Hinton Ortiz, Trash Q, Claw84. These are my patrons / YouTube members. If you'd like to become a patron or YouTube member and get access to a whole bunch of different perks, then please check out the links in the description box below. But alright, this is Riders, riding out.